Here are 7 ways you can lose your Social Security benefits in retirement without warning. I created this list by reviewing dozens of government documents, reaching out to experts for advice, and reading hundreds of comments from real people like you so you don't have to make the same mistakes I've seen so many others make in retirement. So let's start with something that many people don't think about when planning their retirement, and that's what Social Security calls credits. You don't get Social Security automatically. You have to earn it. The first thing you need to know is that you need 40 credits to qualify for benefits if you want to retire at 62. That's about 10 years of work. In 2025, you need to earn $1,810 per year to get just 1 credit, and you can earn a maximum of 4 credits per year. You could work for 10 years, but if you didn't hit the earnings minimum each year, you won't get Social Security when you retire. So it's not just about putting in the time, it's about making sure you're hitting those income requirements. And this brings me to another big mistake that affects business owners and their spouses. If you're running a small business, you might be tempted to minimize taxes by taking profit distributions instead of wages. But here's the problem. Those distributions don't count toward your Social Security credits. I've seen comments from people who realized this too late and were devastated to find that their tax strategy had completely ruined their retirement plans. I even read a story about a guy who often got paid in cash for his work, but for some reason he didn't report these earnings on his taxes, and he did this for years. Then, when he was ready to retire, he found out that he didn't qualify for Social Security because he didn't have credits. And this is really important for married couples that own a business. Because of spousal benefit rules, the non-earning spouse can get up to 50% of the primary earner's benefit at their full retirement age. So it's important to make sure your Social Security earnings record is correct. Speaking of marriage, let's talk about the tricky topic of getting remarried. I've read tons of comments online from people worried about what happens to their benefits when they get divorced and then remarry. This is a tricky situation because spousal benefits usually end when you get remarried. If you remarry before 60 or before age 50 if you're disabled, you'll lose benefits based on your ex's record. And what if your new spouse doesn't have a good work history? Well, if they haven't earned much, your spousal benefits might be lower than what you're expecting. Another thing to keep in mind is that you need to be married for at least 10 years in order to receive spousal benefits after you get a divorce and don't remarry. Next, let's talk about healthcare and retirement. Medicare Part B premiums are going up in 2025 to $185 a month, but that's just the base. If you're a high earner, watch out for income-related monthly adjustments that can lower your Social Security benefits. And yes, they take it right out of your Social Security check. That means you could see up to $628 come out of your Social Security check each month to cover Medicare Part B premiums if your income is high enough. And that's per person. So if you're married, the cost would be double. Now let's talk about some misconceptions around moving abroad in retirement and what it could mean for your Social Security benefits. It might seem pretty straightforward at first glance, but once I tell you about all these rules and exceptions, you'll see how it gets complicated pretty quickly. One of the biggest takeaways is that even if you're a U.S. citizen and you are living abroad, the Social Security Administration still cares about where you're physically located. This is because your benefits are not only determined by your citizenship, your residency plays a huge role too. And the rules can get complex fast when you throw living abroad into the mix. One of the quickest ways to lose your benefit after moving abroad is by not keeping the Social Security Administration updated about your current address. This is important even if your payments are sent by direct deposit to a U.S. bank account. If the money is going straight into your bank account, why would your physical address even matter? Well, here's the thing. Social Security needs to confirm that you're actually eligible to keep receiving your benefits. And they do this through questionnaires sent through the regular mail. These questionnaires verify things like your residency status, any work activity, and how long you've been out of the country for. They typically send these every 1 to 2 years, and you must fill them out and send them back right away. Not returning them can lead to your payments being paused. Now let's dive deeper into how living abroad affects different groups. For non-citizens, there's a common misconception that they can keep receiving benefits while living abroad. But the reality is they can only receive benefits for up to 6 months while they're out of the country. After that, their payments could get frozen if they haven't taken specific steps to stay eligible. They must be physically present in the US for at least 30 days before that 6-month period ends. This resets the clock and allows them to continue receiving benefits for another 6 months. There are also some countries where you just can't receive benefits at all. There's a total ban on sending Social Security payments to anyone living in Cuba or North Korea. Even for countries where benefits are allowed, there might be restrictions or special rules you need to follow. Now let's move on to a more straightforward way to lose your benefits, and that's incarceration. This one is pretty clear-cut. If you're in jail for more than 30 consecutive days, your Social Security payments are put on hold. The good news is that it's not a permanent loss. Once you're released, you can get your payments back, but you do need to notify the Social Security Administration. Okay, now let's tackle the big misconception that your Social Security benefits are completely untouchable if you're in debt. I read a few comments recently where people thought debt collectors couldn't touch their Social Security benefits, but there are some scary exceptions. Your benefit can be withheld to pay off certain kinds of debt, like unpaid taxes, government student loans, and even SBA loans. But here's where it gets really interesting. Family obligations can reduce your Social Security benefits too. If you have unpaid child support or alimony, the courts can garnish up to 65% of your Social Security benefits to cover these obligations. And unlike other types of garnishment, this one takes priority, meaning it happens before other deductions. What's important to understand is that these garnishments can continue even after your children are grown. If you have an unpaid child support bill, it doesn't just go away when your kids turn 18. So until it's paid off, the government can take it from your Social Security benefits. For alimony, the rules can vary by state and by the specific terms of your divorce decree. But if you're behind on court-ordered spousal support, your Social Security benefits are not protected. Another surprise for many people is the earnings limit on Social Security. Many people think they can work and collect benefits at the same time, but that's just not the case. If you claim benefits before your full retirement age, there are limits on how much you can earn before they start reducing your benefits. I saw a comment from someone who was angry because they lost all of their benefits for an entire year after going over the limit while working a full-time job at 65. Here's how it works. For 2025, the earnings limit is $23,400. If you earn more than that before reaching your full retirement age, which is 67 if you were born after 1960, they'll subtract $1 from your benefit for every $2 you earn over that limit. So if you're thinking about working part-time or starting a side hustle before 67, you need to run some numbers first. The SSA thinks if you're still working and earning a paycheck, you don't need the benefits as much. However, this rule only applies before your full retirement age. Once you reach that age, you can earn as much as you like with no penalty. But if you or your spouse plan to work even just a little bit in retirement, you need to know all of the rules, which is why I created this video to explain the new rules for working while receiving Social Security in 2025.